Hello and welcome to the Mission TV show. This is a special edition. We're filming right here on the floor of the exhibition hall. You can see there's hundreds of booths here and thousands of people. We're halfway through the week of the General Conference, the 59th General Conference of the session here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I've got a very special friend and guest here with me today, Scott Griswold, all the way from Thailand. And he's been here for a month, so he's over jet lag and kind of sinking into this time zone and everything. But how long does it usually take you to get over jet lag now?
It's not too bad. If I stay up a long time, then I can sleep through the night and get going the next day okay. So I do okay. A day or two.
Really?
So I have to do that every once in a while.
It takes me about a week and a half to completely get over. But so tell me about what you're doing in Thailand then. What's your...
My specific job is director of the Global Mission Buddhist Study Center. It's one of the 5 study centers the church has for reaching what have been typically hard to reach groups: Buddhists, Muslims, Hindus, Jews, and postmodern secular. So we have the Buddhist ones situated in Thailand because it's such a huge country of Buddhists. It's a wide open, free country, and it's easy access to the other Buddhist countries.
Wow, so you're studying specifically how to reach the Buddhist mind with the gospel message.
That's right.
And you've been doing that for how many years now?
About 8 years.
Yeah. And you've got your whole family over there?
My family's all there with me.
Wow. So tell me something. I've heard sermons recently where the preacher says that the Gospel Commission is pretty much complete. It's almost complete. The message has gone to pretty much the whole world, and that prophecy has been fulfilled. From your perspective, in Asia, where more than half the world's population exists, is that statement accurate?
No, I would not say it's accurate. I would say the good news that we feel is that over the last 150 years, the gospel's gone to many places, and we have some witness in every country of the world. But that's not thinking about the ethnic groups. I go to Myanmar, the country of Myanmar, and we talk and strategize about the 30 plus different distinct ethnic groups with their own language that don't have a gospel witness. The Seventh-day Adventists are strong. We've got 25 to 30,000 members there. They're mainly in 2 tribes. And the basic majority population, the Burmese, hardly 100 members, 200 members, I'm not sure.
Wow.
But that's millions of people, let alone people groups that don't have it.
So you're talking, even if we're in one country, there's sections or people groups within that country that gospel will not go over naturally. Yeah. There's no interchange between those groups. So therefore, when Jesus says, take it to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people, what does that mean to you?
To me, it's like a big orchestra where you get right to the point of a beautiful violin solo, and the man looks for them, and he's not there. It's missing. The sound is blank. It's a big block. I think God is listening and waiting to hear every member of the orchestra from every language singing the gospel song, and he still hears all these missing blocks. And we're just, we're listening in the rest, and we think it sounds nice, but he knows the real song.
So we're happy with a trumpet section and a baritone, but God's looking for the violins and the cellos.
Because they're all precious to him. He wants them all there.
But God won't come until the whole orchestra is complete.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have told me that we're sending too much money to the foreign mission field from North America.
The average Christian, I'm not talking about Seventh-day Adventists or any particular denomination, but across the board, Christians in America give 2% of their income of any sort of donation offering type thing. Okay, but out of that, only another 2% actually gets to the unreached people of the world, to the desperately poor, the hungry, the ones who've never heard the gospel. That's 2% of all the money that we have in this country.
All the Christian. So when you've lived for the last 8 years, plus before that another 6 years in Cambodia, you've lived in the mission field. And you're probably comfortable, or not comfortable, but you're used to it. But how does that lack actually affect your ability to reach the people groups that you're trying to reach?
Well, maybe picture it like this. We were living at a Christian college in Thailand. Nice place for our kids, nice place for us.
Yeah.
Well, we knew that just an hour away, down in the Central Valley of Thailand, there were hundreds of miles in city after city where there were no Seventh-day Adventist Christians. Some other Christians here and there. But basically almost no churches from north of Bangkok all the way up until you hit the northern area where there's a lot more Christians.
And how many people are we talking about there?
I don't know for sure. There's millions. I know the country of Thailand has 65, 67 million people, and approximately 65% have never had a chance to hear the gospel.
65% of 65 million people.
Yeah, that's different parts. In the south, it's even higher. In the northeast, there's a bunch. It's a lot.
So there's entire villages that have no gospel witness.
Oh, absolutely. We went and decided to move our family into the heart of Buddhism in that area. Temple every 500 meters, half a mile or whatever. You can just see temple after temple after temple. Old capital city. And we just looked for a village where we could raise our kids in the countryside, and we located. We are the Christian witness for miles around, the only one. And now our neighbors are learning about Jesus and coming to know him.
And now, are the people that learn about Christianity, the Buddhists there in Thailand that learn about Christianity, are they interested in it? Are they open to it? Are they looking for the values that Christianity holds?
Well, they don't know. They don't know. They're not thinking of looking for anything. They're just living their lives, doing what good Buddhists do, bicycle to the temple once every 8 days or so, give food to the monks, try to do good deeds. If they're wealthy, they can give a bunch of money. Make sure when they die, they have a Buddhist funeral. Hopeful for another rebirth, another life in the future, that they can work on it some more. It's life for them.
So they don't even know.
No. So they haven't had a chance. How could they choose it? It's like not knowing about sticky rice and mangoes. It's so delicious. You've never eaten it. You don't know what you're missing.
Yeah, you don't know what you're missing. Trust me.
And so they need a chance to hear the gospel, to see it in our lives. They may have heard something about it. They may know the West is Christian or whatever, but for many of them, that looks like something very materialistic. People are rich, wealthy, spending it on themselves. They see the movies. They see the violence, they see the immorality. They may not think that's really Christian, but it's just, in their sense, they've got something high and moral. Christianity seems less.
Wow.
But when they can meet a family that becomes their friends, their neighbors, who cares about them, who actually comes and visits them in their home, and maybe prays for them, even if they don't know who you're praying for. I've never had anybody turn me down. I was sure, please pray.
Wow.
And then you begin to share a story here and a story there until, like our landlady, over a period of 2 or 3 years, just bits and pieces, she finally had a picture of the God we were talking about, and she said, yeah, I want to know him. I want to trust him.
Praise the Lord.
And she began to pray, and he answered her prayers. He was able to sell her house that she had huge debts for. He answered prayers for her husband in the situation there. Miracles happened until she said, I really want to know him. We studied the Bible with her, and she was baptized. Her life has changed.
And she was the first Adventist Thai in how many miles?
In, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 miles.
Wow. Man, that's exciting. So what you're saying is that you can be a missionary without preaching. You can be a missionary like in Thailand just by living your life and making friends in your local community.
That's absolutely where it starts. With our character, with God's change in our heart, with living it out through actions, different ways. Some people are more skilled in different ways. I think all of us are called to tell what God has done for us, to share in some way what he can do for them, and to invite them to try.
Wow. So again, getting back to the question of the extreme lack, what does that mean for you? How has that affected your ministry and the other ministries that you've seen there with the extreme disinterest, shall we say, of North American Christians in what you're doing, as well as lack of funding for the projects that you've got?
I think a lot of people it's not that they're disinterested or they lack, they're either overwhelmed with all the options, and the ones that are closest at hand. When your church budget's in the red, and when your school bills are up and you're needing to take care of all the local things, it's hard to see beyond that. You know the need's there, but you figure someone else is giving, and you've got to take care of things here, and then you can give.
Right.
Well, the church in Ukiah, California, my home church that I grew up in, just showed me incredibly something different. They decided, a Sabbath school class there said, we're going to we're going to sponsor some of these one-day churches. I think it's, and you can set up a church in a day.
Oh, yeah.
And they wanted to do like 30 of them.
Wow.
And the head elder said, no, wait a minute. We're in the red in our budget. I'm all for missions. We've got 4 or 5 missionaries going out from here. We're one of them. Roger Williams in Thailand, others in China with AFM, different ones. We really got to take care of things here. The others said, wait a minute, it's our money, we can decide. And they began to say, well, if you put this much, I'll double it. And they began to bid each other up until they had thousands of dollars, 36,000 or more right there. And then others found out about the church. So they were finally able to send a huge container full to Nigeria or somewhere in Africa and set up these churches, a bunch of them.
Right.
At the end of the year, the church budget was in the black.
Really?
They were doing just fine.
Really?
God had blessed. And we're told if we will put the needs of the overseas missions first, it's like tithing. We tithe, but really in America, we tithe to ourselves. We just get the benefit.
Right.
We've even got pastors sitting over lots of churches instead of out church planting, letting the well-trained elders take care of things.
Yes.
We just keep spending the money on ourselves.
Right.
God says, leave the 99 in the open field. That's a place of danger. Go out after the one, and then it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Go after the ones who are vulnerable. They're not sitting on our boards. They're not able to make their voice known.
Right.
But right now, while we're sitting here comfortable, enjoying our food, 3 meals a day and more, everything we have, our huge homes, we don't feel rich. We got credit card debt.
Yeah.
But reality is, we are the wealthiest. If you have a car, you are among the top 10%, the wealthiest in the world. 90% that are poorer than you.
Wow.
Today, 1 out of 7 people doesn't have enough food to sustain themselves.
Wow.
Every 15 seconds, somebody dies because they drank water that wasn't good. These are statistics that you can roll. 265,000 children will die today. It's like 100 jetliners crashing today. Wouldn't you hear about that in the news?
Oh, yeah.
But we don't hear about it. We don't think about it. This is a reality. And why? Not because there's not enough. God has put so much food. He's put so much everything we need here. We're sitting on it. We're consuming way more than we need, and we're not giving.
Right.
We think we can, but we can't.
Right.
We drop $25, $50 a meal, and that will sustain a family for a month. In countries like Cambodia, where I work, we worked with the poorest of the poor, and in slums, and we saw what a $25 loan will do for a family to help them start a business. They can take care of their 6 children and raise their house above the slum waters when the rain comes, so they don't have to walk among the snakes and the garbage. It's just incredible what a little bit can do.
Some people say, I've heard, that if we don't do the work, then God will do the work. Have you seen God come in and save somebody's life where there was a missionary that could have done it that didn't?
I trust God to make things right finally. He will. I believe that He will be just and He will be fair, and He will take care of the suffering in His own way when He returns, when Jesus returns.
Right.
But in the meantime, He said, you are my hands, you are my feet. It is you to demonstrate before the heavenly intelligences and before the world what my love is like. He can say it. He can do miracles, but He's chosen to not force people's hand in this world, which means He allows evil to prosper and He allows good to prosper if people will let it.
Right.
So it doesn't happen. There are occasional miracles there. I'm sure there's loads of miracles He's doing.
Yeah.
But He occasionally speaks through angels, through signs, through dreams. And those are the special things, I think, to kind of wake us, to remind us that He's asked His church to go.
So, and if His church does not go, what happens to the church?
What happens to the church?
Yeah.
What happens to the people out there?
Both.
The people out there continue to not know. I remember sharing the gospel in Cambodia and having somebody look at me and say, then what about my father and my grandfather? How long have your people known? And I said, well, I'm a 5th generation Seventh-day Adventist, and they were Mennonites before that, way, way back. Why didn't they come tell us? Nothing to answer, nothing to say. We just didn't go. We didn't go, and they didn't get to know.
And then what happens to the church if we don't go?
We get bored, and our young people leave because they have nothing to die for. They go to West Point, they go to the military, they join rock bands, they join music clubs, they throw themselves into something because God made us to be totally devoted to something. But there's nothing we're dying for in the church.
Right.
You know, why should I go to prayer meeting? It's boring.
Yeah.
And even the church service. I mean, even if we do our best, it still doesn't compete with the entertainment of the world.
Right.
But a life where you're living the story, where you're helping drug addicts, where you're helping prostitutes get out of trouble and giving them a job, where you can help refugees, you can help kids who've been soldiers and murdered other people but now are out of it and need healing in their heart.
Right.
Where you can save lives by digging a well with your own hands or using dynamite to blow it up. I mean, that's adventure, extreme adventure.
Yeah.
And yet they don't know.
So God's built adventure and excitement into the gospel, and we've taken out all the excitement and made it this clinical knowledge
Adventure
thing.
and romance is from the heart of God. And we are called to go where it's difficult, give of our lives, and we are called to romance people into a relationship with Christ.
Wow.
He is a lover. He cares about people deeply. And we can shine that out.
Wow.
You know, I've seen tears in people's eyes stream down just when we prayed for them and cared for them and held their hands in a tough time.
Wow.
Toothless grandma across the lake from me. Her son dies. He's a monk. He dies from smoking. Her husband dies. These different relatives, we talk about the Creator God. She says, I believe something like that, but I've just never known clearly. Thank you for telling me. And then she passed away, you know, before, recently.
So do you have an appeal for our audience, from your heart, what the Lord has laid on your heart for us here in North America? You've got a very unique perspective after living for 14 years in some of the poorest areas of the world, and then you come back here and you see. Do you have a call or something you'd like to share or
Sure,
feel to?
absolutely. You've heard me talk about money, and so you can just put aside as much as you can, save as much as you can, and then make sure it gets to the poorest of the poor and those who've never heard the gospel. Secondly, you can pray, find out, get everything you can. Bridgesforministry.org, we have stuff for Buddhists. There's other places you can look. Pray earnestly for God to throw out labors in the harvest and to reach the world. And then, most of all, go yourself. You can go locally. You have 600,000 international students studying from countries we can't even get into as missionaries. They're in your universities. You can go be a friend to them and reach them for Christ, and they can go back as missionaries. There's millions of immigrants that are here. You can learn a few words, make a friend, learn their culture, their religion, and reach them right here. That's huge. But also, you can go for a year, for a student mission trip, or just throw your life into it and say, I'm going to learn a language. I'm going to translate the Bible into one of the 3,000 languages that really still needs it. The sky's the limit. Take what you love to do, see the needs, and help.
Praise the Lord.
There's more to say, but that's what's on my mind.
Yeah, amen. The word from our missionary is go. I've heard that word before. I think Jesus spoke it.
He sure did.
He said, come and then go. And in that one word, go, is everything we need to finish that, to make that word a reality and take the gospel to the world. I think it's time that we stop making excuses and that we move forward. Pretty soon God will send persecution, you know, as he did on his early church. They had the latter rain, the early rain. The Holy Spirit was poured out on them in tongues of fire, and it still took persecution to get them out of Jerusalem. But we have the opportunity of going voluntarily. And how much more of a gift to God is that if he doesn't have to force us to go, but we go voluntarily and say, Lord, I love you so much, and thank you so much for what you have done for me by leaving heaven to live in this sin-polluted, difficult world in a lifestyle that is a lot more like the Indian or people in India than ours, in order to bring the gospel to me. And now, what should I go through to take the gospel to somebody else? Thank you for watching here on Mission TV from the General Conference Exhibit Hall floor. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.